And now it's time for a mini real estate debate discussing Zillow. Derrick is going head-to-head with agent from ISellTheCity Real Estate downtown. Please welcome Jason Cassity.
There it is.
There it is.
Yeah, we're live now.
Facebook Live.
Facebook Live in it.
The
Jason
whole
Cassity.
world.
How you doing, man?
Good. How are you?
Good to see you. Jason Cassity from ISellTheCity. I'm going to share this sucker on my Facebook page, my personal Facebook page, so just waiting for it to pop up here.
Let's do it.
But we're going to talk Zillow.
Zillow.
Is it a good thing or not such a good thing
Yeah.
for consumers? I think a lot of people, especially in our real estate debate audience, are real estate agents. So that's sort of one perspective. That's your perspective.
I have almost two perspectives. Yeah, from an agent's perspective and then from a consumer or from a client's perspective. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm sort of in the industry.
Yeah.
But not.
Yeah.
I'm not an agent. I've never sold a home. All right, there it is. I'm going to share it.
Boom.
Right post. Share link. Oh, it's not working. Welcome to live. Here it is. All right, boom. Posted. Now that's away.
Good.
All right, JC.
Yo.
So this all started
Yeah.
when you essentially made a post, or maybe you wrote an article, right? Maybe both.
Yeah.
Something about Zillow.
Yeah.
And it had to do with one of the guys who's on $1 Million Listing. Can you give us a little backstory?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I've been writing some pro Zillow stuff for a while now, so I have to preface this, I guess, with I don't work for Zillow. I'm an agent here in downtown San Diego, so I'm not a shill for the company or anything like that. But I saw Zillow bought StreetEasy in New York, and they kind of rolled out their model in New York. And one of the guys from $1 Million Listing kind of got up in arms about it, put a series of Instagram posts and things like that talking about how bad it was for their industry. And I kind of wrote an open letter rebuttal to that and just said, welcome to the rest of the country. We've had this for years. Here's why I think what you're saying is wrong. And the pro Zillow, I guess you could say, counterpoint to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I saw that.
Yeah.
I immediately said, okay, JC wants to take the pro Zillow side. I'll go on the other side.
Good.
Let me invite him in. And like a man,
Yeah.
you accepted the challenge.
Let's do it.
And here you are to
Good.
debate it with me.
Good.
So, of course, gentleman's honor as my guest today on the show.
Yep.
I'm going to let you go first. Tell me why you think people should be excited, consumers should be excited about the existence of Zillow.
I think any site or any kind of avenue that gives clients more information is good for the clients. I think as real estate agents, that's always been kind of a friction point, is because for years we were the gatekeepers of this information, right? There was MLS books and you couldn't see what was for sale unless you had your real estate agent. Now I have clients who can go on and they can see things before me sometimes because that there's, for sale by owners and coming soons and things like that on Zillow. I think that's beneficial to the industry and to the consumer, and the real estate agent has to adapt to that.
But I mean, that isn't necessarily any different than Realtor.com or Redfin. So you think that's the only viable aspect of Zillow?
No, I like them all. I love Redfin. I love the model that they have, and I'm a big Realtor.com fan. From a real estate agent's perspective, my bottom line, I am a bigger fan of Zillow. We advertise on Zillow and things like that from the real estate agent's perspective, so I like that side a little bit better. And it's bigger. And so we're talking about Zillow because it's the monster of the three that we just named.
It is the monster, and that's kind of the reason why we're talking about it, right?
Yeah, it's the big dog.
Because it is the 800-pound gorilla.
Yeah.
I personally, if I had to pick one, I would say Redfin would be my favorite.
Yeah.
But as a homeowner or home buyer, how could I make an argument that Zillow is there to help me? Like, how could I sit there and look at what Zillow does and say, you know what? They care about me,
Yep.
and that's why they're here.
Talk about the wealth of information they provide. I mean, if you're a home buyer and you can sit at home and you have an app where you can draw a circle around it, it's better than any real estate agent's apps that are out there. And you can, put in your parameters and you can see new homes as they're listed right away. You can see the price history of the home. You can get a look at the school system, and you can get a look at the crime rates, and you can get a look at, go to the blog and you can read the 18 best steps for home buyers. It's just a ton of value. And anytime you're providing that much value, you're doing something right.
And it would appear that, that looks to be a lot of value for a home buyer or home seller. But I mean, what is the purpose? Like, is the why, just to me, it looks to me like the why behind Zillow is it's a for-profit entity that's trying to sell information.
Sure.
They're a data aggregator and data reseller.
Yeah.
So they are looking to put bait out there so that I will come bite on that bait.
Yep.
they can capture my information and then sell it to you.
Yep.
That's what it looks like to me.
Sure.
And when I see that as the business model or sort of the why, the end all, because without that, they don't exist, right? But if that's what their why is, me as a consumer, I have to be kind of like, whoa, wait a minute, what's really going on?
They're not a nonprofit. Yeah, and you know what I mean? So that is their business. That's their revenue model, is to sell leads of home buyers to agents who want to then service those home buyers. But none of this works if they're not providing a ton of value to capture the, like the bait. And so if that bait is helpful, and then again, they're not turning them over to sharks, they're turning them over to real estate professionals to then help them, guide it through. I don't see what's wrong with that necessarily. And I think the value added is outweighing the potential negative.
Okay, and I'm not saying that it's wrong to try to make a profit.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to say that it's a bad idea.
Right.
What I'm trying to say is that as a consumer myself, as someone who's a home buyer in the marketplace, I have to look at it and go, all right, what is it that they're really doing here? Do they really care about me? And my answer is that no, not any more than the extent that I'm just a cog in the wheel, or I'm a part of the process. I'm a name on a piece of paper. That's what it seems like. Now, it's tough to be a middleman and not have that kind of reputation.
Correct.
It's very difficult.
Yeah.
But I do think that, and I don't think they're intentionally misleading anyone with the Zestimates. I think they're really trying hard to put something together that's as accurate as possible. It's a very difficult thing to price a home.
Sure.
Even if you have all the information and you're a human being, it's very difficult to do.
Sure.
But I do think that people rely on it too much because they do believe. Zillow is a consumer safe haven, without question. Undeniable, it's a consumer safe haven. People think about Zillow as a safe place to go to find information that they can trust. But I think that's dangerous, especially when your model is that I want to capture information so I can sell it.
But they haven't really proven to give untrustworthy information outside of, you brought up the Zestimate, which has had the bumps, speed bumps along the road or whatnot. I think they have the margin of error down to 5% or something. Again, I don't work for Zillow, so I don't know exactly what the specifics are. But that's always been kind of a catch, is they're providing the wrong Zestimates, and they're trying to reel that in. But I can go to the MLS now and see prices, homes that are $100,000 overpriced too. I don't necessarily blame Zillow for that. That's just an algorithm that's trying to figure out, based on data input points, what the best, what the value of the home is. But all of their information, I would say, is trustworthy information.
Do you feel like that's irresponsible, though, to put an estimated home valuation dollar figure up there when you're so well trusted in the community amongst homeowners that it's just a little irresponsible, knowing that it's probably not right?
I don't think it's because they're not that far off. I mean, there's been situations, there's been one-off, there's been outliers where they're way off or something like that. But again, I can go to the MLS now and find homes that are just way out overpriced or underpriced or whatnot. I think that is a valuable data endpoint for any buyer to use as a starting point. They should always refer back to their real estate professional, right? They should always go back. And as real estate professionals, we should, as opposed to just saying, well, that's a Zillow's estimate, that's wrong, we should realize how that algorithm works so we can explain to them why maybe it's off 5% or 7%. And say, hey, this is a great starting point, but what Zillow's not factoring in is A, B, and C that happened across the street. That's why it's really 20,000 higher or lower. And we can speak to that. That's more important than Zillow being irresponsible for putting it out there.
So you think it's just a good place to start the conversation?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, and I can see that. It brings, because value is always something that's very difficult.
Yeah.
Homeowners tend to like their home the best of any home in the neighborhood. That's why they bought
emotional, yeah.
They bought that one because they really liked it.
Yep.
So value has always been a tough thing.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that it's irresponsible, but I'm saying it's borderline. I'm saying it's borderline.
I think there's a big disclosure thing there, and I think they've always been very upfront about saying, hey, this is not an appraisal. This is our estimation of value based on other factors, 132 factors or whatever. In fact, they've even gone as far now to give a range, so they'll have a Zestimate, but then they give a range, which is 5% either way or something like that. And more often than not, I find that the actual home value does fall within their range. So it's just an opinion of value. It's not an appraisal, and they've been very good to disclose that up front.
There's some fine print there.
Yeah.
But for most people, they're not reading fine print. I mean, it's just like
Correct.
when you see the advertisements for mortgages, 3.5%, but there's this huge block of fine
The
print.
APY is APR is this, yeah.
People don't read that stuff.
Right.
I mean, that's just a reality. People aren't attorneys in general. So, I mean, they're trusting it. I mean, they really think, hey, this is what my home should sell for. So that's where the borderline stuff comes from. What do you think about, when they put different agents on to appear to be the listing agent on properties?
I don't think they do that. I think we might be at an impasse here, because I don't think they do that. In fact, if you go to any Zillow lead right now, they list the listing agent there along with those other 3 agents, and it says right next to it, says listing agent, and then 2 other places on the page it says listed by the listing brokerage. So now I think in the past they've gotten some slack. I think they did do that in the past where they didn't list.
It still kind of looks like the agent they want you to contact is not the listing agent. And it's sort of, if you didn't know, it sort of looks like, oh, that's the agent I need to call about this property.
Ish. I think if you go to any other MLS site or any other real estate agent site that has an IDX feed, Zillow is by far over disclosing compared to other real estate agents' feeds, which usually hide it under the fold and just say the brokerage's name and somewhere where you have to click to open it up, and you automatically assume it's that real estate agent's listing. Anybody with an IDX feed has other people's listings. Zillow actually goes above and beyond to make sure they have 3 different places on there that actually says listing agent. And you can click the listing agent's profile and call them directly too. I don't feel like they're necessarily intentionally misleading, but there's a big dual agency situation that Zillow is trying to avoid. They want to provide, they go out of their way to make sure they provide buyer agent options, which isn't, that's a whole nother topic, I guess, but that's not necessarily a bad thing.
I should also agree with you on that, because true story with Redfin as well. I mean, they put their own agents up there, but if you were at the same level of unknowing about the industry, you would look at that and say, oh wow, this same guy seems to have listed all these properties, but I have the same issue with them on that, because it's the way that it's made to look. You gotta remember, when people are out there shopping for a home, they don't have any idea. I mean, we do this stuff every day. We look at these things all the time.
Sure.
They have absolutely no idea what they're doing.
I tried to objectively look at it, just actually when I wrote this article, because in New York, one of Ryan, the $1 Million Listing Guy's big catches was it actually didn't, there was a tab that said listing agent, but it didn't have the listing agent's information right there, whereas Zillow it does. And so I was actually speaking to my experience with Zillow, not StreetEasy. I didn't know, and that was probably my miss with that. But with Zillow, I went objectively and looked back at things, and it literally says listing agent next to the profile 3 different times. It's pretty clear to me who the listing agent is. And now if you randomly pick an agent, you may not know who you're getting, but it's clear to me who it is. At least to me, they're over disclosing compared to Berkshire Hathaway or Pacific Sotheby's websites or any of their agents, little IDX sites where they hide that information down in the bottom. They don't ever tell you who's listing, you can't tell.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'll have to take a look at that.
Yeah.
I'm familiar with looking at it from that perspective, because I never look at those brokerages search sites ever.
And again, this is maybe, I don't know, this little capitalism side back in deep in me, but they're a for-profit company, right? That's their revenue model, is they've built the biggest website in real estate history, I guess you could probably say, judging by the track record, right? It's truly a combined. It's the biggest real estate website in history. They have 70 million or 100 million unique users. They have a right to then take that information and sell that off just any way they want to. And I don't feel like I think it goes back to disclosure, I don't feel like they're fooling anybody.
How many times do you think someone's information should be sold to a realtor? In other words, if I go on there and I see a listing I want to buy, and I type in, I would like more information on this property, I give them my name, my phone number, my email, how many people do you think they should sell that to before it gets ridiculous?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's an internal Zillow question.
I want to know you.
One, it makes me think probably, because you don't want, what happens when you click it and then you click it again and then you click it again, and now you have 3 agents calling you. If they're different agents or whatnot, that could get annoying. That could be a value drop for a consumer side. But I don't know their inner workings. We advertise with Zillow. We have a Premier Agent Concierge, which is their whole thing, that the back end. And if a lead clicks in and they've already clicked into someone else, Zillow will tell us, we can't help you with this lead anymore. Here's their information, but we're not going to help you with this lead anymore because they're already working with another Zillow agent. So I think they are handling it a little bit in the back end, but I still did get that information, so they still are giving the information out to multiple agents. I think kind of innately I would say 1, but I don't know enough
so you'd say
about
1.
it. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
My
they're
gut
definitely
would say,
giving it to more than 1.
Yeah. My gut would say 1's probably the right number there.
Do you have an issue if they're giving it to 3 or 5?
An issue as an agent or as a consumer?
On the consumer side.
Yeah, on the consumer side, unless they're disclosing it right away, hey, clicking a different agent will get you another agent calling you. That's probably how that should work. If they're not, if you're just kind of selling it off, I could see having an issue with that a little bit. Yeah.
I spoke to a lady recently as I'm doing consistent casting calls for our Win This Listing program, and she said she had initially gone to Zillow to find an agent, and she started getting calls from like bombarded from multiple agents, and it really turned her off.
Yeah.
And so when she saw our casting call, she said, you know what, I'm going to maybe try to go this route where someone's going to broker the situation for me, handle bringing people together.
Yeah. Now, was she, you probably don't even know this, but was she clicking 18 links, or you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I try to trust the consumer that they're just clicking one link.
She didn't know that she was doing anything wrong. You know, like, how can we expect a consumer to know that, like, I need to come in here and be careful?
Yeah.
But because that's what I'm saying. I'm saying, like, consumers actually need to be careful when you go in here. Every single thing you do is being plotted.
Yeah.
And the plot is, we want to get your information and sell it to as many people as possible. Right. That's the actual goal. That's the goal Zillow has. Now, as a consequence to achieve that goal, they want to try to provide as much value as possible.
Correct.
But the goal is to get your information and sell it.
Well, the goal
not
is
to provide you as much information as possible.
Right.
That's the issue I have.
You're right. You're right in the sense that their goal is to make money, and they make money by providing leads to agents, and the agents pay money to be on the site, and that's their revenue stream right there. But again, it goes back to the thing, if they're providing enough value to offset that, I'm a pro Zillow in that case, but you're right, I think they should kind of limit it to one agent. I don't know enough about the inner workings of their back end to know if, if are people clicking too much or whatever. I don't know enough about that, but innately I would say they should only be selling it to one person.
And I could actually get on board with more than one. Because, as you know, my show in this listing, we bring 3 agents to the table. Yeah. Because I do think not once, dude, in 23 episodes that we've shot, has any 2 agents on the same show ever given the same estimated sale price.
Really?
Not once.
Yeah.
I think you have to talk to different agents.
Correct.
Multiple agents, it's a good idea.
Correct.
Unless you've worked with someone in the past and you know, hey, I click with this guy, I know he works hard, I know he do a good job. Great, stick with that guy. If you're out there searching for a brand new agent for the first time, or you have no idea what the hell, then I think it's a good idea to have multiple agents.
Me too. I encourage it. Even in listing presentations, I'll encourage it.
Yeah, so it's okay. Yeah. I'm not saying, hey, it has to be one. You said that.
Yeah.
Not me.
From Zillow's perspective of selling information, though, when it seems to me like you're disclosing, hey, I'm giving your information to this one agent, but then you're doing it again and again. It can get confusing and mess with the user experience a little bit. That's why I'm kind of saying, if I was a consumer, I would get confused about why 18 real estate agents are now calling me if it wasn't disclosed to me that multiple people are calling me.
Very clearly disclosed.
Yeah, it needs to be very clearly disclosed. Hey, you're getting a second call now or a third call now, and I'm okay with that if it's disclosing it. But if it's not disclosing, it seems like it could be, very confusing to a consumer.
And that's where my sole issue resides. I will completely concess that the user interface is very helpful, that the information is great, and even the Zestimate, which has been proven to be pretty inaccurate overall, or pretty accurate depending upon which direction you want to go with the data, is a good conversation starter. I will concede all those things.
Right.
My big issue, though, is that the end-all goal appears to be more on the making money side and the selling of information side than it is on the delivering the value side. That's where my problem lies. If I look at like a Redfin as a comparison, what I see there is I see a clear difference where Redfin obviously wants to deliver more value than they do want to make the money. Their sole goal is to provide a interface that is all about value. And they think as a consequence, they'll get leads and make money.
Here's where to me, you're comparing apples and oranges, though, because Redfin's a brokerage, and Zillow's not a brokerage. Zillow doesn't have a real estate license. They're not selling, you know what I mean? They're a marketing company. And so you're kind of comparing apples and oranges there. You need to compare Zillow with Realtor.com or Trulia, which is now owned by Zillow, but not with Redfin, even though they have very similar user interfaces. And
dude, as a home buyer, a home seller, I don't know that.
Okay, well, I guess we could compare Zillow to the nonprofit 501c3 and say, well, they're you know what I mean? Their end goal is to help people, and Zillow's isn't.
What 2 sites are people looking at? What 3 sites? Realtor.com, Zillow, Redfin.
The Realtor's MLS site. You know what I mean?
Okay.
HomeSnap. I mean, there's a lot of options out there, but what I'm saying is, you use those, right? There's a lot of options out there, and Redfin's done a good job positioning themselves as the leading brokerage, discount brokerage, whatever, that competes with Zillow in the type, they have a great app, they have a very similar user interface, but they're not the same. Redfin's a brokerage.
They're not the same, but if I'm a consumer, I'm going to both those sites to get the same information. So to me, I don't know that Redfin's a brokerage and that Zillow isn't.
Right.
I don't know that. I don't know if either one of them is a brokerage or either one of them isn't. All I know is that I'm going on here to look at homes for sale. I'm trying to gather information. I'm trying to do research. That's all I know. So you have to compare the two of them.
But
even though their business models are different, it doesn't matter.
What's the answer there? Because that's not Zillow's fault. that they're not a brokerage and people don't know that they're not a brokerage, or it's not Redfin's fault that people don't know that they aren't a broker, or they are a brokerage or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, Redfin is a brokerage and they market them so they have agents.
I'm just
Zillow
saying,
doesn't.
100% true. This is what Zillow needs to work on to win me over, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because I know for a fact if I go and I click on some things on Redfin, because I do it all the time, and I save properties and I do all that stuff, I never get a phone call.
Yeah.
I never get bothered.
Yeah.
You know, unless I wanted to actually go in and say, hey, I want to see this property, they're not going to mess with me. Okay. So it's just something to think about, because long haul, Zillow's positioned to be the king of the castle if they want to.
They are.
I just think that they need to make it very clear that their number one objective is to provide value, not to sell your information.
Got it.
Is that it?
Is that it? Is that it? We good?
I think that's it. I think we've made our points.
Cool.
Anything else you want to say?
I don't think so. Smart as San Diego, making you smarter than everyone else.
That's right, the real estate debate.
Guaranteed.
Jason Cassity. Stick around for more Smarter San Diego TV, where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else, commercial free.